Okay, let's unpack this. You've sent over some really interesting material looking at mindfulness in classrooms, specifically how it might need to, well, evolve for 2025.
Right, the landscape is shifting.
It sounds like we're seeing a move away from just, the quiet corner moment.
Yeah, towards something much more dynamic, more integrated into the actual school day.
So for this deep dive, our mission is to really explore what that evolution looks like based on the source you shared.
And dig into why maybe the traditional approach isn't quite landing with today's kids.
Exactly. And uncovered the specific tangible benefits this modern approach aims to deliver.
Not just for the students, right?
No, absolutely. For the teachers, too, the ones who are, on the front lines every day.
Edge is crucial.
Let's be real. Classrooms are busy places. Lots of energy, emotions, things popping up.
Totally chaotic sometimes.
So adding one more thing can feel, like a little
overwhelming, yeah.
So the source material you sent really grounds this conversation in that reality, it seems, looking for solutions that actually work within the bustle.
Absolutely. And that's a critical starting point the source makes, acknowledging that intense environment teachers are navigating.
Right. Academic pressures, managing behaviors, emotions.
All of it. So if mindfulness doesn't have a clear, practical application that helps with those real-world challenges,
it just becomes another task.
Exactly. Another thing on an already endless list.
Which leads right into a key point the source makes. It talks about a critique of what it calls old school mindfulness. What does the material suggest is falling flat with that approach for today's students?
Well, the article highlights that traditional methods, things like maybe basic yoga poses or just sitting still exercises using soft chimes.
Right.
While well-meaning, they can feel disconnected, even irrelevant to students now, especially as they get older.
Disconnected how? Just boring.
That's part of it, yeah. The source suggests that for kids growing up in this super fast-paced, tech-driven world,
right,
these more static methods can come across as boring or maybe just another form of adult-imposed quiet time.
Oh, okay.
And the material points out that the result is often students kind of zoning out rather than actually tuning in.
So it backfires in a way?
It can feel like just another thing adults are making them do.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't really relate to their actual lives or the challenges they face.
That makes a lot of sense. If it doesn't resonate, they're just not going to engage.
Pretty much.
So the proposed shift in the source isn't about making kids sit still longer, but rather, what is it then?
The core argument is that mindfulness needs to evolve. It needs to be interactive, modern, creative.
Like the stuff they already engage with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Built with the same kind of engaging creativity that captures kids' attention in their favorite games or, online content.
Okay.
So it's less about enforcing quiet compliance and much more about equipping them with practical tools.
Tools. Okay, tools they can actually use in the moment.
That's the idea.
Tools for what, specifically? What are the outcomes this modern approach is aiming for, according to the source?
The material lists several key ones.
Yeah.
Helping students improve their focus, for starters.
Okay, big one.
Huge. And learning to calm their thoughts when strong emotions hit, like anger or anxiety.
Right, so regulation.
Making better choices in tough situations, feeling safe and recognized, so they're actually ready to learn.
Feeling seen, yeah.
And critically, helping them learn to tune in to what's going on inside without just tuning out everything else around them.
Tuning in without tuning out. I like that framing. It sounds less about escape and more about navigating skillfully.
Precisely.
And the source uses this interesting phrase, building emotional rhythm into the day. What's that about?
Emotional rhythm.
Yeah,
that's key. The source describes it as integrating these practices so smoothly throughout the day.
So it's not a separate block of time?
Not necessarily. It's more that the class develops a kind of natural synchronicity. Students start regulating their emotions and mindsets almost instinctively.
Without it feeling like a formal, separate mindfulness lesson.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the material suggests using neuroscience-backed strategies and engaging media to make this rhythm feel natural and relevant.
For different age groups, too.
Yeah, whether it's kindergartners or high schoolers.
Yeah.
Adapting the approach.
And the specific methods the source mentions, the examples of how this rhythm is built, how the tools are delivered, that includes things like virtual calm spaces.
That's right. And guided focus areas, planned brain breaks.
Brain breaks. Okay.
And those monthly units you mentioned.
Right. Those are presented as the practical components, the resources that make this new approach actually happen in a classroom.
Yeah, the how-to. The article describes things like interactive virtual calm rooms students can access, maybe on a tablet or computer.
Okay.
Dedicated spaces or guides for focus and study. Brain breaks designed to, reset attention.
Get the wiggles out, maybe?
Yeah, could be. And monthly themed units that teach specific life skills.
Those monthly units,
Mm-hmm.
the source later calls them SEL units. Can you just quickly clarify SEL?
Yeah, good point. SEL stands for social emotional learning.
Social emotional learning. Got it.
So these are units specifically designed to build those critical life skills, managing emotions, understanding others, making responsible decisions, building relationships.
Okay. Social emotional learning units.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if this is the approach and these are the tools, what does the source say is the actual impact? It lists real-world benefits teachers can feel. Let's start with the kids. What are the upsides for them?
The source highlights a few major areas. First, it points to better focus and concentration.
Makes sense, given the tool.
Right. The claim is that these practices actually train the brain to become more aware of distractions.
Notice when you're drifting off.
Exactly. And then gently guide attention back to the task. Over time, this can lead to noticeably improved attention spans.
And academic performance, presumably?
That's the connection the source makes, yeah.
Which, that directly addresses a huge challenge teachers face, just keeping kids engaged.
Absolutely.
What about managing all that internal pressure kids feel? Stress, worry.
Yes, the material talks about reduced worry and stress. Students carry a lot, test anxiety, social pressures.
For sure.
These practices, according to the source, help activate the body's natural calm response, the parasympathetic nervous system.
Right.
Which contributes to a significantly more positive, settled classroom climate overall.
And this seems like it would have a big impact on classroom behavior, too. The source mentions self-regulation without the meltdowns.
That's a critical one. So many challenging behaviors really stem from kids just not having the skills yet to manage big emotions.
They get overwhelmed.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes that this approach gives students actual concrete tools to pause before reacting.
Take that breath.
Identify what they're feeling and then choose a more thoughtful response.
Yeah.
It's about helping kids label what's happening inside them.
Giving it a name.
Yeah, and select a smarter next step, as the source puts it, allowing them to take ownership of their actions instead of just acting purely on impulse.
Wow. That outcome alone sounds like it could be transformative for a classroom.
Huge potential impact, yeah, for the student and the teacher managing the room.
And beyond the individual student, does the source talk about the impact on the class as a whole, the group dynamic?
Yes, it notes benefits there too. Things like stronger friendships and classroom community.
How does that work?
The source suggests that incorporating these calm, self-aware practices naturally boosts empathy and connection among students.
Okay.
Kids become better at understanding each other, which leads to less conflict, builds a stronger sense of community.
Makes sense.
And it connects their own self-awareness to understanding others better, which is fundamental for any kind of teamwork.
So it cascades from individual calm to better group dynamics.
That's the idea presented.
And ultimately, the source lists better moods and happier days as a student benefit, which sounds lovely, if a bit general.
Well, it frames it as the cumulative effect, the shift in the overall vibe of the room.
Ah, okay.
Students feel more confident and capable. Teachers feel less reactive and maybe less drained.
The whole classroom runs more smoothly.
That's the picture painted. The source suggests learning to calm their nervous systems and respond mindfully builds resilience.
Resilience, okay.
And can even improve things like sleep quality, leading to happier, more productive days for everyone involved.
That's quite a list of benefits for the students, but you mentioned earlier, this isn't just about the kids.
Nope.
The source is explicit about the benefits for teachers, too. What does it say about the impact on the educators themselves?
This is a really key part of the source's argument, actually. It states that these integrated routines support the teacher's nervous system just as much as the students.
Really? How so?
Well, it suggests teachers can think more clearly, teach more effectively, and potentially even rediscover some of the joy in teaching, find it less draining.
Which links to burnout, I imagine.
Absolutely. The material links this approach directly to lower burnout rates for teachers, improved stress management skills, a stronger, more present classroom presence.
So it's not just another thing for the teacher to do.
No, it's framed as a foundational support system for the teacher, something that helps them cope and thrive, not just another task on their plate.
Okay, so going back to that idea of a classroom operating system,
Mm-hmm.
it really sounds like the goal presented in the source isn't just adding occasional calm breaks.
Definitely not.
It's more about fundamentally building these skills, this emotional rhythm, into the everyday structure of the classroom.
That's the core concept from the material, yes.
Using these specific modern tools.
Right. It's not teaching mindfulness as some abstract concept. It's more like installing a functional operating system.
An OS built on focus, life skills, emotional fluency.
Exactly. And the source holds up examples like those interactive virtual calm rooms, guided focus spaces, the monthly SEL units, positive affirmation videos.
As specific examples of the tools within that system.
Yes, emphasizing they're designed for easy integration, to create connection, rhythm, and routine, not disruption.
And a key takeaway from the source seems to be that this doesn't require completely overhauling the school day or the curriculum. It's not a revolution in that sense.
Exactly. The material stresses it's about having the right tools available, easily accessible.
Ready to deploy.
Yeah, to deploy at the right moments throughout the existing structure of the school day.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? This deep dive into the source material really highlights how educators are, well, adapting.
Adapting well-being, practices like mindfulness, to fit the reality of modern classrooms.
And the unique needs of today's students, yeah. It's an evolving approach to a concept many of us might think we already, understand.
It definitely challenges that more traditional image of mindfulness in schools.
Right.
And presents this dynamic, tool-based system aimed at creating a foundational operating system, really.
One that supports both emotional development and academic success.
That's the goal laid out.
And here's a thought to leave you with, pulling from the heart of this source material. Consider that shift we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
From doing mindfulness through specific, often separate exercises, sitting still for 10 minutes.
To having tools.
Exactly. Having tools for emotional regulation that are built naturally into the rhythm of the day. How might applying that idea change how we personally approach managing stress or maintaining focus outside the classroom?
Interesting question.
Is it always about scheduling dedicated mindfulness time? Or could it be more about finding ways to weave small, tool-like practices into our own daily routines?
Something to mull over, definitely.